That's what it looks like, right? Varchar. So when you see varchar and hear me say that, it's a string. It's words. It's names and descriptions and street addresses and mother's maiden name and favorite color and that sort of thing. We're going to work with diagrams in this class. In Microsoft Access, you can set up diagrams for this MySQL product. You can make diagrams. This is EER, which is a little different from the ERDs you saw before. It's an enhanced entity relationship diagram. But the idea is that each entity is its own kind of rectangle shape. And then each line in here is an attribute or a field that describes that entity. And then we have lines connecting them together to show the relationships. Great. So that was a quick overview. Do you have any questions or comments on any of that? Yes.
I was wondering, are we allowed to take pictures with our phones for people in person?
Oh, take pictures with your phone? Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out. It's like a real-life screenshot. All right. It's quiet off there in internet land.
Varchar,
yes.
Varchar is just a string?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. It's a database string instead of a programming string. Different technologies invented at different times by different people that didn't really coordinate with each other. So, yeah, they're synonymous. All right, well then let's keep on going here. This SQL abbreviation here, Structured Query Language, is a powerful technology to know because it applies to pretty much all database products. Once you know how it works, you can apply it to other database systems. So we're using this MySQL database product. But once you learn this stuff, and you've already learned some of this stuff in the earlier database class, you could use it in Microsoft Access, but then there's also Microsoft SQL Server. There's a database system called Oracle, which is enormous, probably the biggest tech company you've never heard of. And there's other open source systems. There's Postgres, there's SQLite, IBM has something delightfully called DB2. How's that for a fancy name? These are a bunch of different systems that, database systems that are available. This is not all of them either. But once you learn this, you can apply it to other database systems. And the only problem is we have kind of this idea of dialects. And the way this SQL works in Access is slightly different from how it works in MySQL, which is slightly different from how it works in Oracle. The principles are the same, but there's some just differences to be aware of. Nothing that would prevent you from accomplishing a task or taking a job. It's just an annoyance because each database product is very slightly different. And finally then, in this first chapter is a review of all the commands in this language to work with our work with our databases. We're going to get into all the gory details as we go through this class, but here's a quick review. We have this idea of DML, which is data manipulation language, as its name implies, manipulating data. The biggest one is select, where we're running these queries to get information out of the database. There's DDL, data definition language, which is what we use to define our database. We define the tables, define the relationships, define the primary keys, and all of that stuff. And we'll get into all of this as we go through the class. But just as an example, look at all of this. This is the type of thing that you'll be writing yourself as we go through this class. And it may look foreign and confusing right now. And as we get to the end of the class, this will all, hopefully, make sense to you. But a lot of it is pretty straightforward, like you could infer here that the command create table, what do you think that does? Creates a table. Right, very good. And there's that bar chart thing again. And we got this idea of defaults. If you don't specify a value, it will default to 0. We got the different names here, credit, total, invoice date, and so on. And it's its own language, and maybe it takes you a while to figure it out, but if you can figure out C++ and Java, you can figure this stuff out as well. All right, I'm going to click through the rest of this because we're not going to get into all that right now. We have all semester here to make it work. One thing here on this slide that's worth mentioning is that the rules of this SQL language don't really require a certain kind of formatting. And so this example here, this first one here, the computer can process that just fine. But it's difficult for a human to read. And so if you take a little extra time and write something like this, it's easier for a human to understand. We have things like this indenting here, kind of like in Java and C++, where you have a block in the curly braces. If you indent that, it makes it visually separated so that you can see, you know, what's the loop or what's the if statement that this is attached to. What's also common is for the keywords in SQL, like select, from, where, order by, to put those in all capital letters makes them sort of visually stand out. You don't have to do that, and if you turn in work that looks like this, I might leave an angry comment in your homework grade, but you know, I'm primarily concerned that you get this stuff to work. So what you do maybe is get it working first in the ugly format, and then once you've got it working, take a few minutes to kind of tidy it up. Oh, here's a list of how you might format your code. All right. Yeah, we're not going to get into all of that. Great, that's the end. All right, so that's the, how long was that? About 10 minutes, maybe? Whirlwind tour of chapter 1. We'll take a look at that in the book and make sure you're familiar with all that. Hopefully, most of that is a review for you from the earlier class. And if you do have questions afterwards, you're welcome to send me an email message, ask me on Wednesday. We can certainly communicate outside of the class as well as inside the class. This next chapter in book, chapter 2, talks about how to use this software, MySQL Workbench. And we'll talk about this as we go through this entire class. Like Visual Studio for C++ or like Eclipse for Java, these development environments have a billion zillion features, a lot of buttons, a lot of menus, a lot of options, and you shouldn't expect to know it all immediately, and I'll walk you through the important parts as we go through this class. What's important for right now is to just get the software installed on your computer. And I'm going to paste a link in the chat here, and it's also in the eLearn system. To install this software. It's available at no cost. It's this free open source software like the Firefox web browser, the Linux operating system. It's available for Windows and Macintosh and Linux if you're that type. And so try to get that installed here in the next day or two so it's available so that it's available on Wednesday. And if you still don't get it, that's fine as well. Do make sure that you're installing the correct thing, because this MySQL stuff is just, there's just so much to it. If you hit that link, it looks like this. And if you are using Windows, there's this all-in-one installer. Alternatively, it's really this MySQL Workbench that you need. Workbench is this graphical user interface. And here you can pick your operating system. And here's a download link. So see if you can get that going in the next couple of days. If you do get it working, you should get something that looks like this. And if we connect to my database, this is what that Workbench environment looks like. And you can see a lot of buttons here, a lot of menus, a lot of different choices. And I can look at my databases that I have set up, and I can see the tables and columns and things like that. We'll dig into all of this as we go through the class, but this is kind of what you're looking for at the end. If you get a screen that looks like this, that's the goal. There we go. And you can see I've got a lot of different databases here. Yours will be different because you don't have all of this installed yet, but that's okay. How we doing so far? Let's take another pause here and just, how's it going? How is this working? Somebody say something, please.
It's good. It's great. Are there instructions on the online content on how to install the correct software aside from this link?
So it is all documented in the eLearn system here. Let's see if we can bring that up and go into this content here. And in this lesson document. Learning activities. All right, thank you. Okay, yes, thank you. Thanks, John. All right, so yes, in this learning activities in the first week, there's information here on how to set all of this stuff up.
Okay.
All right. Everybody's very quiet then. All right. Has anybody tried to install it? Are there any?
Does it make you create an Oracle account? I
You
didn't
sh-
have to make one.
You shouldn't have to. They do use a lot of dark patterns to trick you into downloading more than you need. So yeah, you shouldn't need to set up an Oracle account. That's a good point about the dark patterns. If you look at this download page, there's this big banner that says My SQL Installer for Windows, all in one. It's nice and big, but it says recommended download. You gotta scroll all the way to the bottom to find the actual download button for the actual thing that you want. So do be sure to hit that. Don't fall for the bait of that. Have you heard the term dark pattern before? Oh, yeah, all right.
I know about the misdirection, but I never heard it called that.
Oh, yeah. So it's designing software to trick you into doing something while looking sort of innocuous. There's all sorts of websites dedicated to dark patterns. There was one famously back when Microsoft was pushing Windows 10, when everybody was happy with Windows 7, and it's like, wow, we don't want to upgrade, and the upgrade would prompt you, and it would say something like, click the X in the upper right corner to install Windows 10, upgrade to Windows 10. And most people just hit that red X to close the software, but in that case, as the installer, that was the continue button. And so that's another example of dark pattern. Here they're trying to trick you into installing this great big thing. Just get the pieces that that you need. So, all right.
So it's asking us to create an account. So are we supposed to use our school email or just a personal email?
So I clicked on that download link, and again, with the dark pattern, they're trying with these big shiny buttons to trick you in to giving you information. But down below here, it says, no thanks. We'll start my download.
Okay.
All right, Cooper, you can click the shiny buttons on your Steam Deck instead, and that will satisfy that urge for you.
Should we do the developer default setup type?
Yes, developer default, yes. Another thing to think of as you're installing this workbench and your database server and all that, at some point, the installer is going to ask you for a password to connect to your database server. And normally, you would want to use a good, strong password to keep your stuff safe, especially if you're going to put this on the internet. But since it's just for your own purposes on your own computer, keep it simple. Just use a password of password, or if you have a password that you always use. Because if you forget that password, then you're not going to be able to get into your database, and then you're stuck. So keep it simple. I don't think you can just leave the password blank. I think you have to pick something, but pick a password or the letter A, or maybe you have a go-to password that you use for everything, contrary to what we're told. I have a real weak password on mine. I don't remember what it is, but I could probably guess it in a few tries because I don't need this to be all locked down. All right. All right, well, I do think that is quite enough for our first day here. We can't really get too far without the actual software installed. So do work on that today and tomorrow so that hopefully by Wednesday we can just run through a few simple exercises with that MySQL workbench. The eLearn system has this information as well. There is a quiz that you have to do sometime this week. Anytime this week is fine. You classroom people, you don't have to do it in the classroom. Just sometime before Sunday. Everything in this class is due Sunday night at midnight, or 1 minute till midnight, and just anytime if you want. The homework is to run a simple query, and if you can get some query results, that's all you need. So the goal is to get the software installed and execute a quick query. And I'll show you how to do this on Wednesday, and then hopefully by Wednesday you could have the homework all finished, and we can really get started next week. Let me say a few more things before we wrap up. I do not know how Wednesday is going to go, so you classroom people just come here like usual. You remote people, I don't know, please monitor your email. I'll send some information. Again, might be the last minute, but I just don't know. So are there any last minute questions here then before we wrap? Nick, yeah?
For the chapter assignment, where do you see the script for the instructions?
Where is the script for the instructions, huh? I thought that was included in the course files. Something in this learning activities. scripts. Here we go. All right, so the question is, for the homework, you're supposed to load an existing database into this MySQL system. And right here in the lesson document it says script to create the AP database. So if you open that file, it comes up in a different screen, which, let's see here, where did that go? There it is. This will download a file onto your computer, and you can open it up. It's just plain text, so you can use the Windows Notepad utility, or I'm using this thing called Notepad++. And here's a script, and you can copy the entire thing. So edit, and select all, and then copy, and then you can paste it into the MySQL workbench. And we'll do that on Wednesday as well. But just paste all that text, and that will give you a database to work with that is pre-populated with actual information. All right, well then, I think that's all that I have for today. If you want to be on your way, in the upper right corner is a little ... button, and there's a leave meeting. And if you do have questions, you're welcome to stay here. I'll hang around. You know, we do have till quarter after. If you do have questions, I can work with you individually. Otherwise, do keep an eye on your email, or your Sinclair email, for how to get to Wednesday's class.
So are you just gonna like email us a link every day we have class?
I don't know yet. It will be for Wednesday at least.
Right.
And if I do get something figured out, I'll probably set up a separate document that'll say, you know, February 14th, click here, February 16th, click here, or I might do something else. I just don't know yet.
All right.
Well, I had a virtual class last semester through Zoom, and I know it's only been one day, but I prefer this method much better.
Well, thanks. You said that, Heather, okay. Thanks, yeah, I've tried using Zoom. I don't like using Zoom. I do like this because it's all browser-based. There's no app to install. You can run it on a tablet or even your phone. I've had students try on their phone. I haven't used it. But I'm glad for that feedback. So I'm more familiar with this, so it'll probably be this, but I don't know yet.
Okay.
You are now on.
But yeah, thanks for that feedback, Heather. Anybody else have feedback on this system? Oh, or questions? Yeah, well, the link that I will send sometime, you can hit that from your phone, and that will join you into the class, so you can kind of hang out on your phone for a little while. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure. Oh, I see. No. Okay, no, there is not. It's all web-based, so you just need a web browser. Firefox, Safari, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, if you're that type. Yeah, any of those will work. You don't need any software.
I wish you could like set your camera background on here.
Yeah, you can't do that. It's a lot. Yeah, Zoom has a lot more, but I don't want a bunch of features. I just want camera and a whiteboard.
I think I can set my camera background with NVIDIA Broadcast. Maybe I'll try
You might
that
be able
next
to.
class.
Yeah, in your Windows driver or something like that.
Yeah. All right, so are we done with everything now
Yeah,
for today?
Yeah, unless you have further questions, yeah, you can be on your way.
All right, bye.
You are now unmuted.
Yeah, can you speak a little louder? Or maybe more directly into the microphone? Yeah. Yeah. That's fine with me, and you don't really need, all you need is my permission. So if you want to sit here instead of remotely, we're in room 107 at Centerville, but that may change because that may change. But yes, you're welcome to come here and sit in on the live class instead of the remote class, sure. Yeah, or, all right. And Caitlin, just to further that, you don't have to commit to one or the other. You can come in on Wednesday and then stay at home on Monday, or, however you want to do that. That's the point of having this flexibility. All right, great.
You are now muted.
Sounds good. See you.